Welcome back, Cowboys fans, and thank you for joining me today because we've got an in-depth breakdown of the Dallas Cowboys preseason battle against the Los Angeles Rams. This game wasn't just another warm-up, it was a showcase, a proving ground, and in many ways, a statement about where this team stands heading into the season. We're talking winners, we're talking losers, and we're talking about some players who are making the coaching staff's decisions a whole lot harder. Names like Joe Milton, Brian Schottenheimer, Marist Liufau, and Israel Mukuamu all had their moments under the lights, for better or for worse, and we're going to dive deep into everything they showed on the field against the Rams. This was a game full of highs, some surprising lows, and plenty of takeaways that have the fanbase buzzing. Whether you're the kind of fan who watches for the quarterback battles, the chess match of offensive play calling, or the rise of those young defensive weapons, this one had it all. Let's start with the big storyline that had a lot of eyes glued to the screen: Joe Milton. The rookie quarterback has been one of the most intriguing figures in Cowboys camp this year, thanks to his rocket arm and raw athletic talent. Against the Rams, Milton had a chance to put some of that potential into practice, and the results were a mixed bag that still leaned toward the positive. There's no denying his physical gifts. On several plays, Milton showed that rare combination of size, strength, and arm talent that makes coaches salivate. He ripped a couple of throws into tight windows that made you sit up and say, "Okay, this kid is different." His ability to push the ball downfield adds a vertical element that the Cowboys haven't consistently had in years. But there were also some moments that reminded everyone that he's still very much a rookie. His timing on certain routes was a half beat late, leading to incompletions or near turnovers, and his decision-making under pressure is clearly still a work in progress. Milton is a winner in the sense that he showcased the ceiling of his talent, but he's also got plenty of growing to do if he wants to climb the depth chart. That brings us to the man who's helping mold Milton into the quarterback the Cowboys hope he can be: offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer. If you were watching closely, you probably noticed the way Schottenheimer approached this game. He didn't just throw Milton into the deep end and hope he could swim. Instead, he gave him a balanced mix of play-action looks, quick throws, and a few carefully designed deep shots to test his arm. Schottenheimer's ability to adapt to the strengths of his quarterbacks was on full display. He didn't force a one-size-fits-all system. Instead, he leaned into Milton's arm strength and athleticism while also giving him some safe completions to build confidence. That kind of adaptability is huge for an offense that's going to have to make in-game adjustments all season long. On top of that, Schottenheimer's creativity in the red zone stood out. While not every drive ended in points, you could see some wrinkles in motion and personnel groupings that could become staples of the offense. If we're handing out winner labels, Schottenheimer earns one for the way he balanced development with competition in this game. On the defensive side, one name that deserves major recognition is rookie linebacker Marist Liufau. Every year, there's that one under-the-radar rookie who starts making enough noise in the preseason to force his way into real playing time discussions. Liufau might be that guy for the Cowboys this year. Against the Rams, he looked quick, instinctive, and aggressive. He read run plays quickly, shed blocks with surprising power, and showed he's not afraid to come downhill and deliver a hit. On one particular third down play, he diagnosed the snap perfectly and closed the gap before the running back even had a chance to find daylight. Those kinds of plays are what get coaches excited. It's not just the athleticism, though Liufau clearly has plenty, it's the mental sharpness and ability to process the game at NFL speed that stood out. While he's still learning the full defensive playbook and will need to keep improving his coverage skills against faster NFL tight ends, Liufau's arrow is pointing straight up. Now let's talk about Israel Mukuamu, a player who has been around the Cowboys system long enough to know what's expected, but who's still fighting for his role in a deep and talented secondary. Mukuamu is a unique defensive back because of his size and versatility. He can play safety, but he's also shown flashes as a corner in certain packages. Against the Rams, Mukuamu's length and ball skills were on full display. He broke up a couple of key passes, including one in the end zone that might have saved a touchdown. What really stood out, though, was his ability to anticipate routes and put himself in position to make a play on the ball. That's a skill that can't be taught. It's a mix of film study, instincts, and pure feel for the game. While he wasn't perfect, there were a couple of moments where he got caught peeking into the backfield and gave up short completions. Mukuamu left this game looking like someone who's ready to contribute in multiple ways once the regular season begins. But for every winner, there's a loser, or at least a player or unit that didn't have the kind of showing they were hoping for. One of the more disappointing aspects of the night was the offensive line depth. The starters weren't out there for long, and once the second and third units came in, protection became a serious issue. There were too many plays where Milton and the other quarterbacks had defenders in their face almost instantly. It's hard to evaluate skilled position players when the pocket is collapsing before routes can even develop. This has to be a concern for the coaching staff, because depth on the offensive line can make or break a season, especially if injuries start piling up. Preseason games are often where those backup linemen prove they can step in without a drop-off, and right now, that question mark still looms large. Special teams also had a bit of a roller coaster night. While there were some nice returns and solid coverage plays, there were also mistakes, missed tackles on kick coverage, a penalty that wiped out a big return, and some inconsistent punting. These might seem like minor issues, but in the NFL, games are often decided by the smallest margins. Special teams coordinator John Fassel will no doubt be hammering those mistakes in the film room this week. You want your special teams to be a hidden weapon, not a liability. And while there's plenty of talent there, the execution wasn't as sharp as it needs to be. On the flip side, one of the more underrated winner stories from the night was the Cowboys' defensive front. Even without all the starters playing heavy snaps, the front seven generated steady pressure and did a good job controlling the line of scrimmage against the Rams' run game. Young defensive linemen like Chauncey Galston and Osa Odigizwa made their presence felt, collapsing pockets and forcing hurried throws. This kind of depth is what allows defensive coordinator Mike Zimmer to rotate players and keep everyone fresh deep into games, which could be a major advantage when the Cowboys face high-powered offenses later in the season. Overall, this was one of those preseason games where the score mattered far less than the tape. The Cowboys came away with valuable information about where they're strong, where they need work, and who's stepping up when the lights come on. Joe Milton's flashes of brilliance were enough to keep fans excited about his future. Brian Schottenheimer's adaptability in play calling deserves praise. Marist Liufau's rise as a defensive playmaker is becoming harder to ignore, and Israel Mukuamu's continued versatility in the secondary adds yet another weapon to an already loaded defense. At the same time, the offensive line depth has to improve. Special teams execution needs tightening, and the team as a whole has to keep building consistency as the regular season inches closer. The beauty of preseason football is that it's not just about wins and losses, it's about finding out who you can trust when the games start to count. The Cowboys are learning more with each passing week, and if the trajectory of their young talent continues upward, this could be a team with the depth and firepower to make real noise this season. So, Cowboys Nation, buckle up, because the journey is just getting started, and this year's ride has all the makings of something special. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more in-depth Cowboys coverage, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update as we march toward kickoff.